In studio, I'm joined by Odenda Lumumba, the National Coordinator, Kenya Land Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us on KTN Prime. What are your thoughts on what the Attorney General had to say today?
I think the Attorney General is affirming one thing that is very clear. The Constitution of Kenya came into effect on 27th of August 2010. Any actions in matters of allocating land cannot have been performed, especially on public land, without involving the National Land Commission. That is in no doubt. However, the manner in which we are trying to address the wrong that happened is equally wrong, to the extent that two wrongs cannot make a right. And therefore, one would basically be left wondering, if it was unconstitutional at the point of allocating land, how constitutional is it that the person heading the process of doing this is not the person mandated by the Constitution? So the Attorney General must be consistent to Kenyans and basically state that it wasn't right at the time of allocating land. It isn't equally right that the commission is in place, and yet this matter is going on as if the commission never existed.
Does not exist.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the quarrel in this. The president revoked the title deeds. Of course, there is an investigation going on. But where really is this quarrel? Did we send land to undeserving people? Was it sent at a throwaway price? What is the quarrel over the land in Lamu?
I tended to think that the president was talking about the principle of concentration of a land in the hands of a few people at the expense of the majority of Kenyans. Yet, the constitutional principle is equitable, sustainable use of land by all Kenyans. So, are we saying that it is wrong today to have 22 companies have land if our principle about constitutional land in the hands of few still remains? If tomorrow we get another 10 or less number getting this land, will it make any right? In any case, are we saying equitably that from today henceforth, we are now going to follow the principle of equitable distribution of land, in which case Kenyans will wait to see how that is done? Because as long as we don't see the criteria upon which any effort to allocate land is being administered, it raises questions. For instance, as we talk right now, we are told surveyors are all over Lamu trying to survey land. Are they surveying public land to allocate, or are they surveying land which is community land for purpose of adjudication?
So the objective of the survey is not clear.
Yeah, it's not very clear. Because if it was allocation, we need to know the criteria. Who are these needy persons in whose interest the land is being allocated? Remember that even when they talk about going to Tana River to do the same exercise, they are really contravening the Constitution to the extent that as long as we don't have a community land law, there's a moratorium in dealing in community land. So if you go to Tana River in a purely community land area and you purport to be surveying that land to dish out, whom are you doing? How are you going to do that? Because community land registration and protection, according to the Constitution, can only be undertaken through the community land law, which is not in existence.
Okay, so you've talked on the legality and the illegality of the entire process. According to the Attorney General, the president did not revoke the titles in Lamu because they were illegal in the first place. These 22 individuals stroke companies had title deeds. Are we in any way trying to say that title deed that was given to these individuals was illegal? Can a state give illegal title deeds to its people?
I think the question could be basically we cannot purport to say that the title they were given were basically illegal.
The Attorney General says they're not recognizable.
I think once the due process from the very beginning is not proper, those titles don't hold. Because remember that the title is an end of process. So the procedure, the process that gives title must be as provided in the law and the procedures as laid down. What we are dealing with in this particular case, we are really setting a case of insecure land tenure in Kenya, which basically scares everybody. How best can you hold land that you are guaranteed by the state, which offers the title? The state does not give a title as a matter of course, but it gives a title as a finality to confirm that the due process has been followed. But in this particular circumstance, these titles were not. And if we are saying they are not, we basically say that the title is not worth the value by which it's laden. And that's one of the problems we are having when we are being told that the government is in a process of issuing out titles in a mega way, in millions. And we are asking, what's the due process of doing this? To whom are they going to give these titles? I think all these questions, besides the Attorney General, is he advising the cabinet secretary in charge of lands to be doing this matter? Is he setting another illegality and unconstitutionality, which we are going tomorrow to be dealing with, that all the matter were illegal, they were unconstitutional? I think the Attorney General should shape up in terms of advising the government of the day.
Great. So one reason given in all this is that the 500-acre piece of land in Lamu was given without the approval of the National Land Commission. Of course, this was formed under the new constitution. And according to the Attorney General, he says the transactions happened at a time the constitution had frozen alienation of public land until establishment of the National Land Commission. But we cannot exist in a vacuum. Land still needed to be transacted then. What was happening in between?
I think we basically, the land, not all land in Kenya is public land. There's land to the extent of private land. It could still continue to be transacted in. But as far as public land was concerned, the management and administration of that land lies with the National Land Commission. And as long as it wasn't in place, no transactions could have taken place.
So in essence, what you're trying to say is that any public land that was transacted during this period would now be revoked.
It is a suspect, and that's the reason why there's a process of checking its propriety, its legality, and that is a review that is provided by the Constitution in all grants and disposition of public land.
Lumumba, you realize this is going to go all through the entire country now?
I think it is going to go through the entire country. It's a painful exercise, but it is worth it. This is a surgical thing. You are told you have a cancer, and there's no two-way to it. It's going to be through a surgical operation. It will go through a chemotherapy. It might not be the most pleasant scenario to go through, but that is what the cancer about land is all about. This is a cancerous situation we are dealing with, and there cannot be quick fixes about it.
Okay. Yeah. Odenda Lumumba, National Coordinator, Kenya Land Alliance, thank you so much for sharing your opinion on the Lamu land issue. Thank you.